Welcome to The Short Score, your weekly update of roping news from around the industry, where you can find the latest on the sport from the pro rodeo ranks to the jackpot world. I'm Taylor Vollen, and I'm your host. Welcome back to another episode of The Short Score, Vegas edition. It's your host, Taylor Vollen. We've got a new Round 7 arena record and some movement in the all-around race as well because of tonight's round of the team roping. Coleman, Proctor, and Logan Medlin won Round 7 with a 3.5-second run for $33,687.18 a man to also keep Coleman alive and well in the race for the all-around gold buckle. We caught up with them after their win thanks to Professional's Choice. Well, it's that time of year again. Are you ready to boot up? Our friends over at Professional's Choice, which is the leader in equine leg protection, want to thank you guys for your support with big savings on all Professional's Choice leg gear from now until the end of December. If you're like us and in Las Vegas for the NFR, you are in luck and you can stop by the Professional's Choice booth, which is booth 3011 at Cowboy Christmas. Or if you aren't here in Vegas, don't worry, you can visit any Professional's Choice retailer in-store or online. Either way, you get to enjoy an instant $20 rebate on all 4 packs of sports medicine boots and $10 off any 2 packs of boots. These savings also include Professional's Choice therapy offerings like ice boots and Theramic combo wraps. Make sure you boot up and protect your equine athletes and save big, all with Professional's Choice.
Coleman, I feel like the theme lately has been how much older we're getting.
Oh, amen to that.
We have some younger girls who started working for us in the last year or so, and we were looking back through Spin to Win's YouTube page of like your first NFR, and then I heard somebody on the Wrangler, or the guy from Wrangler interviewing you, and he was like, "Is this your 9th NFR?"
That's 9.
That's crazy because
It is crazy.
it felt like it took a long time for us to get to your first NFR, and now it's been a long time since then.
Yeah, Chelsea, you should have been helping pay for some of those 7 years of losing. You know, I tell you what though, we narrowly missed it the first couple of years, and it was like, man, I wasn't ready for it then. I don't know who I would be now or what I would be doing or if I'd have been alive. I don't know. You know what I mean? I think sometimes you just got to trust God's timing. That like it came when it needed to be here. And I think, I'm grateful that I didn't make it early on. I don't know if my career would have withstood it, if I'd have still been rodeoing, you know what I mean? And then certainly I don't know if I meet my wife that way, you know what I mean? And so I'm thankful it took me long enough to get here, and I'm very grateful that we still get to come back. I'm still remember the days of being just a young kid, dreaming of making it here. I was in college when Nick Sartain came out here, and him and Colin win the world, you know what I mean? And that was a big deal to know somebody that comes out here and does it. And Nick was so gracious and helped me so much in the early years of my head. And, it was obviously just an idol for me. So, though I still, in my mind, I'm still that young kid just praying to make it once, even though I've been walking out of here for the 9th time tonight. And that's what Tiffany, every night we walk up, we talk about, let's go run the 86 steer we've run here tonight. And, I think 86 is still just as sweet as number 1. And I think as long as that's my attitude, I'm going to keep chasing it. And if it ever starts to get old or if it ever starts to get to be a hassle, then if I can't enjoy it and if it doesn't mean as much, then it'll be time to start looking at something else.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Logan, we were talking about your early Spin to Win videos in 2013. Yeah. Tell everybody what you told me about your hair.
Yeah, back then I had a deal I'd perm it and let it get way too long. I don't know really what that stage was that I thought I was in, but my hair was way too long. I let it get way too long. And so thankfully I've been able to shape it up a little bit, be a little bit more clean cut. But I've got a daughter now, and so I got to kind of portray a certain image. But don't get it twisted. I was never some wild kid or nothing, but I don't know. For some reason, I had some years where it got out of hand.
If there were one guy in the NFR, in this year's NFR class, least likely to have a perm, I would probably, if you asked me, I would say Logan Medlin.
1,000%.
And there was nobody that hated it worse than Jeff Medlin. I guarantee you that.
I'll tell you what, though, I was so impressed. Is your mom, she fixed it, she permed it for you. She loved it.
It was a home. What do you call it? Home done deal.
It was in the box.
Right there at the
You brought
kitchen
it to the
table.
house.
Yeah. I don't know.
You didn't go to the...
No. It was right there at the kitchen table. Curlers.
With the curlers.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
the acid stuff that they put on your head. You got to sit there for 45 minutes. Oh, I went through all that stuff. Yeah. And the bad thing was, I didn't just get one. I got like 4 or 5 of them.
What ages? What ages are we talking?
Oh, it really probably. The more I got thinking about it, it was like junior year in high school. Probably is when it started. So for a couple years ish.
It
Probably.
was really long in college.
Yeah, and then it just stayed really long
It was
in
like
college,
Beatles
and yeah, it was that. Yeah, I don't even know what you'd call it, but it was pitiful, is what I'd call it. But
I will embed the video in the article.
yeah, and
We have that technology.
Billy Bob, he's a good friend of mine. That's who I roped with at the time. He always has a knack of circulating that picture about once a year, usually for my birthday, along with other ones. And I wish all that stuff would just get wiped clean, but those pictures seem to circulate once a year.
I just want to know, because you were an outstanding athlete. So, like, when you played basketball, did you come with the sweat, the sweatband, pull it back?
See, that's why you perm it, because wet, it comes down to your nose. But if it's permed, it's above the eyebrow.
stays up.
Yeah. And then, it flowed. There was a lot of no headband, but it must have worked, because I started dating Breeley sophomore year of high school, so it must have worked. She must have saw the perm and thought,
Gotta have
that one.
So did she ever perm it like in college? Because y'all went to college together.
No, yeah, I went to college. No, I guess she drew the line there. She
said,
goes,
I will not perm your hair.
Yeah, she's never cut my hair. No, so I guess that's where the line's drawn.
Okay, so anyways, about team roping tonight. That was a nice walk down memory lane. Coleman, what did you know about that steer?
That was a steer. Clay Smith and missed a barrier on him in the first round, and he was kind of in the middle of the pen. And that can happen a lot of times, like when the header's late and the heeler's leaving with right behind the nod. So it kind of kept that steer pushed out into the middle. And then when Brenton Hall came back, he got a pretty good start out of it. He told me he felt beat, but sometimes you can get a good start but a bad go. You don't really get as much send off your horse, but that steer kind of flushed off towards his partner, and so I kind of felt like that was going to be more the pattern tonight, because I knew I was not going to let Heisman be a step beat behind, and he has a knack of always having me in a position to win big when we need it. And so once I finally got him set in there, he was a little more antsy tonight, but I didn't want him hopping at all. I knew I couldn't afford to be late. When you see the times on the board that had happened, and us in a position where we really need to be winning every night, we need to be up on the top of that round. The biggest difference between a 3.5 and a 3.7, there's not much. You're splitting hairs. So I really tried to get a good start, but I tried to go to the pin because I was accounting for him going to the right. And I think one of the reasons I always chuckle, and I told Jake Long a long time ago, the reason I started heading was because, I was tired of hazing as a healer and was just being like, it's only one more step. Just reach over there and rope him, right? So I was like, I was chuckling as I was going back to my horse, and I was like, I'm going to the pin because I started heading because I thought I could catch one going to the right, and tonight's going to be my chance. And when it went on his horns and he let it around the corner, he was hitting just fast enough, I thought we could really make a fast run. And Heisman did a great job of finishing us out in the middle, but of course that always begins with how hard my man slams the door shut.
And Drago slammed that door shut.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to do it on the old man, and so it was cool. I've switched to him a couple nights ago, and just kind of had something kind of stirring in my gut, telling me I should give that a shot. And I'm always hesitant about switching out here. I've only switched one other time, and it was whenever I got off of him to get on to Cantina, and so I feel like when you switch, then you start throwing more variables in there, and if it don't go good, you're wondering if that was the thing. But so if I switch, I want to be 100% committed to finishing that out, barring injury or something. And so I made the decision to switch to him, and I knew that behind Heisman, they've had good chemistry before in the past, and so he was good enough. He could start curling his head out of the way, and I could see the feet the whole time, and I knew it was going to probably be good whenever I was turning loose of it.
Was that Heisman's longest time in the box, or has he spent more time in there?
Well,
Last year,
yeah.
his fault last year. We spent forever last year.
I know, and I know that's got to suck, and I hate that. But one thing I do like about trying to do, I feel like if we're taking too long, I do try to reset to give you the cue that we're not, because I can only imagine being a healer over here.
Yeah.
And you see those headers that just stay buried in the corner, but they don't nod their head. I mean, there's a lot of anticipation going on, and I think that is something. I mean, I've always told Logan, if something right, you got to holler, because I'm in my own world over here. I don't know what's going on. Because I'll be honest, I've never even noticed that you walk in the box. You know what I mean?
That's what makes me nervous.
Exactly.
When they crack that gate, I'm getting in there because I know that he's got his own system over there, and I need to get in there and get set.
I promise you, because I'm telling you, I might Trevor Brazil a TG right now. You know what I mean?
We've
Wildfire.
long enough to know. I know that that's my responsibility, so I'm getting over there and getting in there.
That's right. Because when it comes, and it's just funny. It's just such a feel. You know, I mean, I could nod my head any of those times, but it's a feel, and you know, I'm so grateful to get to ride that horse here again, and. Barring major injury or the end of his or my career, I plan on riding that sucker here next year. You know, he's just a weapon for us. And yeah, I think tonight was the longest. You know, I hit the corner and I could just feel kind of his tail start to drop, and he was just kind of slouching down a little bit. And I didn't like that, and I wanted him to stand up. And then I tell you what it is if when you were in college, you probably knew the guys because you were always the guy that kept your head. I bet if you went out with a group of friends, you were the guy who was like, guys, we're not doing that.
Or it was, hey, who's going to drive? Well, Logan will drive us.
He'll drive us.
All right. So that guy's a lot of fun. Let me tell you, on those bar nights. But yeah, that was me.
But you always had a hype guy. You had a guy that came up with every terrible idea. Let's do this. It's crazy. And the problem is Heisman's a hype guy. I was a hype guy. So sometimes, you know what I mean? That was the deal. Like, my blood pressure was probably a little high right there, you know, and as I'm getting ready, Heisman knows I'm not ready, and he's getting fired up. And so then it gets me to a point where I have to relax and say, hey, Bubba, it's time for you to get your head on straight because it's go time. And, you know, then you feel him relax. And it always puts me in a better mental place. Everybody always asks me, like, does it bother me? Like, no, honestly, a lot of the times it relieves a lot of the pressure that's going on in my head, and it makes me take a deep breath and come back down to earth and get back to doing my job.
Very good. And I heard you talking to the other reporters about the all-around. Like, we just watched Shad go. He's still in the average. But, you know, if the average didn't count for the calf roping, if there was no average, you're about 30,000 behind him now. Like, or a little less than 30,000 behind him. Are you keeping that in your mind at all?
You know, I was talking to Lou Branquino about this, and he told me, he's like, Coleman, nobody runs that pressure valve on you except you. So don't let all the talk and all the murmur, because honestly, you know, I've only run a few steers here where there was some gold buckle implications, and it was early in the round, and it was a lot of pressure, and I remember the feeling, and, you know, it gets to be a lot. And so, you know, I think this week I started writing down in my journal about how I'm just going to stay grateful. Every steer we run, there's got to be a lot of gratitude because there's going to be more weight on them. I mean, bottom line is, none of it matters unless we win. You know what I mean? Unless we're winning, it doesn't matter. So it's not like I'm ahead trying to protect a lead. We're almost in a grateful spot of, you know, we got to pin our ears back every night and come hot and go try to win as much as we can in these go-rounds. The average for us doesn't look favorable at the moment, but I'm not going to say that 8 steers doesn't end up winning something big. You know, so for every night, there's $32,000 available. We're backing in there that we've got to get the lion's share of it if I want any kind of chance to win the all-around. But for right now, my focus is for us to make a living and pay the bills back home. And, you know, I'm just going to keep backing in there and try to knock the starts back and give my guy opportunities for us to really get to the front and get to the South Point.
Good answer. Is there any added pressure with you that knowing that he's in the all-around race?
Not really. You know, that's been asked a lot this week. People ask.
Unoriginal?
No. Just people asking me, you know, is there pressure? And I don't feel any at all. You know, I feel like we've got a great relationship in and out of the arena to where, man, we're friends, you know. Whatever, if it goes good or bad in the arena, it's all cool outside the arena. And I know he's trying his hardest to do a good job, and he knows I'm doing the same. And so, no, I'm not one that's really gets that nervous. And so I think maybe that's helpful in a situation like this. But no, I'm pulling for him. I hope I do my job good enough that it gives him a chance to do it. But I'm not really looking too much into that.